just over to a podcast that has recently been in the news. The Call Her Daddy podcast on Barstool's #1 podcast. For those of you who don't know, Jeffy, you said you didn't know. For anybody else who doesn't know, Call Her Daddy has been at Barstool for the past 2 years, I want to say.
Yeah.
They've been Barstool's #1 podcast. They've been top 10, I think, the entire time that they've been at Barstool. So off rip, they came out the gate year one. Go ahead, Jeffy.
No, I know of the podcast. I just don't know what the rumblings like. What's happening legally? That's what I don't know.
Bet. Well, I'm gonna just give just background for anyone listening right now. Just so they've been top 10 in podcast in like the iTunes chart since they've dropped. So they came out the gate hot. So originally they signed with Barstool for $75K plus additional bonuses for every episode that hit over a certain amount of views, which they were doing on every episode. So
I think that $75K was just for the last year contract because they're still in that contract.
It was their first year, so it was structured to be a rising contract. So their first year they were supposed to make $75K, their second year $85K, and their base salary. This is just base salary. So at bare minimum, they was gonna bring this home for the year. Third year they were gonna bring home $100K plus bonuses each year. After year one, they were bringing in so much money plus bonuses. It really made sense. They were getting underpaid. Other Barstool podcasts were talking about it. They had heard that they were talking about how they were getting screwed over by this deal that they signed. They were getting underpaid.
Also, let me add something. I don't know if you're going to touch on it, but when they signed the deal, they basically signed away their IP rights. So
that's everything from Barstool, though.
Yeah. So, but let me give you this. Sorry to interrupt you, AB. Keep it to follow. They signed away all their rights. So from beer glasses to flags to clothing to the podcast to what other classes did they trade? They trademarked it in 5-6 classes. One more snippet I'm going to add in here. If those girls are business savvy, Barstool owned all those classes for that trademark, basically owned all their podcast rights besides clothing. And I'll touch on it after. It's pretty much because there's a girl in Texas named Aiden that filed a trademark for Call Me Daddy in 2016 and got it in 2017. So she owned the rights. But Barstool was trying to go to the USPTO and have her cancel the mark, so then they could own the rights. But AB, keep going. So
I was gonna get on that one in a second. But basically, to be fair, when they were coming into the game, no one really knew them. They didn't really even know podcasts.
They had one episode, and that's how Dave Portnoy, the president of Barstool, found them. And they did one episode, and then they picked them up.
Okay. So $75K is not a terrible deal to start with for two people who are just off the street. They don't have any. It's not even like they're coming in with a background in media either. So it's not like, okay, you worked at ESPN, all right. You're entitled to a certain amount of money. So they got their $75K.
Work at NBC, you got a great Oscar. Yep, turn up, my boy. AB, turn up. Emmy, my fault.
Emmy, let me get a flex, AB.
I'll bring it up here in a little bit. I'll bring it up here.
My fault.
Let me get the Grey Goose up here and start talking to the Grey Goose. I'll bring it up here.
My fault. I was just giving you roses. You know what I mean?
I appreciate you, Phil. But to get back to backstory of what happened. So they made over $100K, I think their first year or something like that, and basically wanted to renegotiate, which they were well within their right to do. They got a lot of flack for it, but realistically, if you're bringing in a certain amount of money, you should negotiate, especially if your podcast is up there top 10 podcasts in the country. So they renegotiate. One of them decides that we need $1 million each and our intellectual property back. So, all right, $1 million each is a little steep, but again, it's a negotiation. Shoot high, they'll probably lowball you. You'll probably meet somewhere in the middle, right? Dim, you a businessman. Tay, you a businessman. Go ahead and let us know.
I can tell you my real life example.
Go ahead.
No. What do you want me to touch on?
So
you said you're gonna give us a real life example.
No, I meant I can't give the specific details, but we going through a similar battle with Barstool right now. So obviously, when you said, you come in high and they'll come in a little bit lower. That's normally how it goes.
Okay, so just typical negotiations. So I don't want to paraphrase too much, but the two girls were going back and forth with Barstool. They kept putting out episodes. Eventually, as of April, they stopped putting out episodes. For every episode that they weren't putting out, Barstool Sports was losing $100K an episode. So they do a once-a-week podcast. $100K, Barstool's losing off rip. Barstool decides to offer them $500K plus their intellectual property back.
Which was wild, by the way.
After the completion of their podcast, after the completion of their contract. I'm sorry. Then they were also going to get 50% of all merchandise, 15% of all alcohol sales. I may be missing something else in there.
And they can get out of the contract early. What do you say?
6 months early. They could get out of their contract 6 months early.
And the whole IP thing where they keep the IP, that's if they accepted that contract, every Barstool podcast, out of every Barstool podcast, they would be the only one that would own their own IP. Because Part of My Take, I think, is number 2 on Barstool, whatever, and that's a big sports podcast, and they don't even own their IP. So when Dave, the Barstool president, told the Part of My Take guys about it, they were like, we don't even own the IP. So it's wild that they offered them that.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, at that point, that seemed like a pretty good deal to me. $500K each plus your bonuses, plus you get out of your contract early, you get 50% of all merchandise. One thing Barstool does sell is a lot of merchandise, and they sell it quick. So they definitely would have gotten a fair amount of money out of that, and they would have been able to keep the podcast going after they left Barstool, which is what apparently one of them clearly wanted to do. They said no. One said no, and the other one went behind her back and pretty much was like, I'm cool with this deal. I don't know what else is going on. But
I was gonna say, the blonde girl, Alex, she posted something on her YouTube channel, and basically she's putting out an episode. This podcast itself is coming out after this, but she's putting out a podcast on Call Her Daddy, I think this Wednesday.
Just by herself?
Yeah, I don't know if it's by herself. It's either by herself or with the Barstool president. But there's that, and then the Barstool president keeps on putting out edited videos of battle scenes of the brunette girl, Sophia. Her boyfriend is the one that's influencing her to reject the deals because he's a businessman that's trying to set up Call Her Daddy on different networks like HBO and other places, and it's just a whole insane battle right now that it shouldn't happen, but because they were such good friends, and then money tore them apart basically.
But this is what people should always understand. You don't sign anything without reading it. I don't give a fuck if you don't have anything. It's just if you're into business, it don't matter what it is. Motherfuckers say, yo, I'm gonna sell you this at this price. You know what I mean? It's all right, cool. But he ain't tell you yo, you need to pay it off within 30 days or something. You know what I'm saying? But in a piece of paper, you just sign it. But you know what I mean? You might think you have all year to pay it, and it says 30 days. Well, because you didn't read it, you signed the paper. You know what I mean? But you have to read. But the renegotiation and everything, it's a fair deal because they didn't have to get anything. But Barstool see that they have leverage based on the crowd they're drawing in, and people who are listening, and being a part of their audience. So I don't know. I think they should read it from the jump. Get a lawyer, somebody to. You don't sign nothing if you don't understand it.
Apparently, they knew, but Barstool told them there would be no deal without them owning the intellectual property of the show. So,
right.
I think of it like this though: if somebody found you from nowhere, put you on, I don't care how big you get. We got a 3-year deal, whatever, 2-year deal. You don't never ever try to shit on or go behind the backs of the people who put you on. That's cool. That's cool. If you find me, you give me away, bro. I'm just a loyal type of person like that. We riding this out. Nobody knew it.
Facts.
I don't even get how they don't understand. I don't get how they don't understand.
That's a fact.
That's weird.
That's a fact.
Nobody knew y'all.
That's a fact.
Money.
You have no leverage.
Money and egos really is what. If you ask me, money and egos is what changed it, because you can't even after y'all pulled that stunt of, all right, we want $1 million, which is wild, because I can't think of many podcasters making $1 million on base salary.
Besides,
who
like,
are not
Yeah.
who are not major media personalities
facts.
themselves.
Until y'all gonna, I can feel it. Y'all gonna do it. I'm proud of y'all too. Just know that, all y'all. Just know that.
Appreciate you.
Y'all gonna
Appreciate you.
do that, man. I remember when y'all started, and it's only getting.
And there.
Man, I gotta give y'all flowers while y'all here and while y'all listening. And I know I've been bugging this whole show, but I'm proud of each and every one of y'all. And no, there ain't no deal like that yet. But Dance with the Brothers.
In due time.
Y'all gonna,
yeah.
y'all gonna get consistent and stay active and stay working at this shit. I'm proud of y'all. But anyway,
Consistency is key. Word to Robert Dim.
real shit.
Big facts. It's a party.
But I mean, I don't know. What are our thoughts here? Are we thinking that it's when they were offered the $500K plus their intellectual property plus 6 months getting out early, re-up on money percentage wise of merchandise? Are they stupid to walk away from that deal? Because they were apparently reported, like the New York Post reported that they were being offered millions by other places. So if that's the case, are they stupid for walking away?
That's normal because when you have such a big, you build such a big audience, a big platform, obviously people are going to give you, you know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing with sports. Like, you build yourself high up. You in one franchise, another franchise is going to pay up. Like, they're going to have that money to pay up for you. But it just comes down, like Tay was saying, like, your loyalty. Like, where does it stand? Like, where are you going to move? Where are you going to shift to? Like, when this person's talking mad money and then, you know what I mean? So it just comes down to you really, like, making that decision, because money is going to come. Like, if you're doing it and you see you getting the audience, you see you getting the love, like, money is sure to come. But it's just like, you know what I mean? How are you gonna create your legacy here? Are you gonna be like a money chaser, or
It's
something
not like
else?
they're not getting paid. It's like, yeah, I know they're trying to give y'all this, but it's not like we giving y'all breadcrumbs. Like, y'all still making bread. At least do me the solid of following through with what y'all said. Because I heard in renegotiation, they was trying to get them. They was giving them bread. Like, I don't get what. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
It's just greed. That's
The biggest issue that I would find with it is that, like, you and the person who started the podcast, you're having disagreements. You feel me? If the reason we started a podcast because we were having these conversations every day, and AB had started a podcast. He invited us on there, and people like that we were having a conversation so they could hear it again. It's regular conversation we always had, but
Right.
me and AB got similarities in how we view the podcast. Schindler, Joe, and Carl. You know what I'm saying? If we don't agree on something, we're not gonna like on the brighter picture. We're not gonna do it. You know what I'm saying? But obviously, we don't agree on like topics and stuff like that. So if me and someone doing a podcast, I'm like, all right, cool. We're gonna take this deal. We're not gonna take the deal. You feel me? We're gonna work that difference out between us for the betterment of the podcast and us together. No, I'm not gonna be like, AP want this or that. Are we doing the podcast or we're not doing the podcast? And it's
also,
like, you know what I mean? What we trying to do?
It's crazy because they came into it together. It's not like one of them started the podcast and it blew up, and then they got the other one on the show. They blew the show up together.
so technically, Alex is the one that quote unquote does more work. She edits the podcast and then she like puts it out or whatever. So, and that's how Barstool got in contact with them. Like, Alex is the one that kind of like started it, and Sophia's like her friend that's on the podcast and stuff. But they did go in together. But the reason why there's this whole like mix up and stuff is because Alex I don't think she wants more money, but I think she was offered more money than the other girl because she technically does more.
Which is understandable.
Bro,
Yeah,
this will only happen to females, bro. I think this will only happen to females.
I didn't want to say it, bro.
This will only happen, bro. This because I've seen it with my own two. Bro, girls can't live together as much as they try.
I can't say that. I can't say that because I've seen people do worse for less, and they was dudes. So
I mean, true. That's everybody. That's everybody. But like
everybody. Some people can handle money, and some people just always need to have more than the next person. You feel me? So if y'all get a deal, and next year, 2 years from now, y'all all making $2 million a year, and then somebody say, yo, bro, they offering me 10, I'm out. Be like, nigga, we making $2 million a year now. What are you talking about? You out, bro? Like,
Yeah, we in this together,
That's-
bro.
yeah,
That's a fact.
Remember, who want to make his shit?
yeah. Some
Exactly.
are like that. Some people ain't. I don't even think it's a gender thing. It's just ironic that it is women right now. But
It's a personality thing. It really is a
Yeah,
personality thing.
It
Like
comes
it's
down to your
because, like they
personality.
say, money don't change people. It just reveals who they are.
But
Because
I
you
think,
know,
at the end of the day, it's like, what's the ideal goal? Like, I just think like anyone's naturally gonna want more money and progression. Did they ask for it too soon? Yes. Did they give up their IP in the beginning when they shouldn't have? Yes. There are ways they could have leveraged the IP 50-50 split, license it. You know, they own it, license it to a cheaper fee to bar. There's like just a number of things they could have done in the beginning to increase the revenue they would have been generating. And then also, it's like if you go get a sales job today, or if Mark Cuban's on Shark Tank investing in a company, or Mr. Wonderful, like they work in royalties. And so there's just so many ways, and they could have educated themselves to not be in this situation and be satisfied through the contract. And then say, hey, 3 years is up, we want to go hit the free agency market. And I think that would have been the right thing to do. It would have been respectable to wait the 3 years. But I think they just did themselves a disservice. They saw the Barstool name and got super excited, but didn't really do the due diligence and the knowledge and make sure they were making the right deal initially for them to end up in this situation.
I feel like that's a culture just like all around. Like you see even in like college, you know, one and done, like the basketball players. I mean, a lot of them are broke too. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these people are just broke coming up. You know, somebody pick you up or you getting bread, more bread than you ever had in your life. It's just like your eyes get real wide. So, you know.
Right. And that's what's hard. It's like it's hard for people. Like the goal is like get this, the goal is to look 10, 20 years down the line, because that money is going to be longer than the money you're going to get in year 1, 2, and 3. So that's what people have to like realize. It's like, don't worry about the money today.
Long term.
You're looking at long term, 10, 20 years down the line, like you're going to be Gucci. Like you just have to make the right plays. And like, you know, they could have, like, think of how crazy this shit is. Like they could have literally, if they owned their own IP, blown this whole podcast up, and then they ended up licensing call her daddy to XYZ companies. Like there's so many different things in the future they could have went if they owned their own IP and educated themselves. But now it's like you're limited your paychecks because you were, you know, I don't want to say they sold their soul, but it's like you gave up everything you had to go to Barstool, and now it's like you're under Barstool, and it's like you can't get mad at Barstool. Like you can't get mad at Erica. You can't get mad at Dave. They're using their resources. The same things the Sharks do on Shark Tank. You know, they're using their resources. They're trying to take 25, 30, 50% of companies. So am I mad at them? No, but I just think the creators, like it's so now ever important because your digital footprint is so valuable. That's how you'll be able to be chilling at 50, 60 and like living good, because you own all your IP and just digitally your face and your brand all across the internet. Anytime it's used, someone's cutting you a check, and if they're not, their ass is getting taken to court, and no one wants to get taken to court. So it's just like
Rob, would we know these girls without them?
I mean, like
they gave them the chance and blew them up, bro.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
bro, we wouldn't know them.
They blew them up after one episode. Like after one episode, Barstool found them, signed them, and now they're making mad. Now they're about to make bread. Like,
in my opinion, they signed what is the music equivalent of a 360, and now they're pissed about it.
Pretty much 360 because they were nobodies, and they had the platform to make them somebodies.
Yeah, bro. Go through with the deal.
Even if you're nobodies, like at that point, I think there's a mutual understanding that, like, yeah, it might not get as big, but you're at least gonna blow us up somewhat, and then that's the leverage you need. Like, you really gotta have your business mindset in this world when you're coming to the negotiation table, because you're gonna get fucked over.
Sure.
Because if Dave Portnoy and Erica is telling you we're gonna use all our resources to make you number one, and then you don't want us to own your IP? Like, what are you guys, crazy? Like, those two girls are going to be like, you know what? You guys are actually right. Let's sign this contract. You know, that's how the conversation is going to go. Like, they're not going to push back and be like.
3 years ain't forever, bro.
No, but they're still, but wouldn't they own the IP forever?
They would have after.
IP. Once you lit, I'll make another IP. I don't care about.
But now,
I mean, that's the whole branding thing, though.
But you built that brand. Like, you could profit from that for 40, 50 years. Bro. So it's like, you could build another one, but like, you could profit off that name for 40, 50 years for the rest of your life.
Sounds like I've never seen this show. It sounds like these are some girls with some cold little mouthpieces, and they could go to another IP.
Bro, they be talking wild, bro.
We got the eyeballs now. Bro, y'all making me want to watch their show.
No, but but now they got the followers and all that. They can do whatever they want to do now, from OnlyFans to a new podcast to they could do anything now because they got it. So
they might as well put their podcast on OnlyFans because their actual fans would pay to watch it.
Thanks.
But complete what you said you was gonna do, bro. If I tell you like this, Jevy, you call me, the podcast today. I committed to this. I'm coming. You feel me? If you tell somebody you're gonna do something, do it. It's 3 years, get it over with, and then you can do what you want. And then we can negotiate. You can have the IP. You're lit now. Like, you feel me?
I'm gonna hold you though.
Was that the case though? Was Barstool gonna give back the IP after 3 years?
Yeah.
I just thought
I don't know if they were gonna give it back in the original one, but I know with the new deal they would have. Yeah, Carl, go ahead. You were about to say something.
If think of it this way though, let's say if Banner with the brothers went to like a corporation, whatever, right? And we did the same deal they did, right? And after a while, we end up with as many fans as them. If they came to the table and offered what they was getting paid, I'd be like, yo, let's just see what else we could get out of it. Like bro, let's test the free agent market. Even though we in the contract, they could keep Banter with the brothers and we could run it up with another company and we get paid a lot more. Like, I don't think what they did was dumb. Like, I think they should have probably all been on the same page. But, like, they don't need Barstool now.
Now they don't. But in the beginning, they did. And they were being shopped to other podcast networks.
Yeah. No, I understand that.
Which realistically, I mean, is smart. Because first of all, it's better for your negotiation when you step up to the negotiation table. All right, you only think we're worth $500K? Well, guess what? So-and-so over there gave us a bill.
That's what I'm saying. So like I don't know if I heard the whole argument completely, but like I think the way Dim said it was that, or even Tay, that like they need to sit through the whole contract. They don't have to though.
They do have to. You sign a contract; it's a legally binding agreement.
They don't, because bro, all they could do is just go to another podcast, change the name, and get paid a lot more.
Yeah,
no,
you signed a contract. You have to contract.
You're obligated to do what you signed on the contract. They would sue you for so many shit. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's there.
I don't think they got to though, bro. Because I think like think of this way: if you went to like a record label and you was like, "Yo, I'm gonna do this many albums," you can buy your way out the record label.
Right.
Go to another record.
You want to do that?
I understand what you're saying. What you're saying is not wrong, but what I'm saying is the way they went after it was they already was talking to other people. Like, be transparent. Like if this is the place that gave you your start, like, yo, so and so over here, they giving me $5 million. Let's make it work. Yeah, you can renegotiate contracts, but you can't leave in the midst of a contract. You got to fulfill your contract.
Yeah, and Carl, to go off of what Tay was saying, a lot of these contracts too, especially in media, is like, if you are to break your contract, they'll put like all right, you cannot create any form of media for the next 5-6 years. You go 5-6 years without creating any content. Guess what? People don't care about you anymore.
Irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. You're sitting duck. You dead.
Bro.
And this time, bro, it's so easy to be irrelevant. One day you're hot, next day you're not.
Not facts.
So that's that. I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with them. You hate to see people who was that close, because they were roommates, best friends, and business partners go through this shit. But
right.
Like the clip go, ooh-wee, look what that money make a bitch do.
See, now I don't have to add it in.
Like going on top of that.
what Barstool tried to do is when I touched on that girl who owns the call. So Barstool got an office action, and what that means is their trademark for clothing got stopped because this other girl has this trademark called "Call Me Daddy," and it's in the same class. I don't know if can you guys hear me still?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's in the same class, and she had it since 2017 on some website. So basically, what happened is Barstool went to the USPTO and said, I'm going to file an appeal to get her trademark revoked. This girl in Texas, she had it for 3 years, and then they're trying to argue that she's no longer using it. She's using it under another company. And what a lot of people don't know, this is like crazy. Like when you submit a trademark in the USPTO, like you can't, like if I'm submitting a trademark for consistency is key. Like me submitting this specimen won't pass. Or if I like write on it and doesn't look official like a actual t-shirt, it won't go through. They'll send you a denial. So then Barstool went and argued these 29 reasons saying they're no longer using it in commerce. The tag they submitted looks fake. It's not real. She hasn't been using it in a number of different years. And then they even went as far to go order a hat off this girl's website. When they got the hat, the tag didn't say "Call Me Daddy." It said 4AMer, which is or whatever the name of the company is. So that's like in violation because like the specimen has to have "Call Me Daddy" on it. So they filed this whole thing, and these are the same lawyers I'm going up against. So like this is, for me, it's all like I'm prepared, I'm good, but it's like what they did is they filed that, and then pretty much you have to respond. Like they basically give you all the dates for Discovery XYZ that you have to respond, and if you don't respond, they can start canceling your trademark like without your response. So that's what happened. The girl didn't respond, and then the USPTO said, okay, you guys have the right to cancel this trademark. But luckily, this girl, I guess she found a lawyer a week after, and I guess there's maybe a quote-unquote grace period. So she still might be able to save it. But, like, for me, if I'm a business person, like, I'm saying, like, yo, fuck Barstool. I'm going to this girl. I'm doing an off-market deal with this girl. Having at least I can come to the table and say, hey, like, you guys don't own this trademark. Like, I own this trademark now. So, which is "Call Me Daddy." Now I own 100 of my, and then now I'm going to the negotiation table talking different because you guys own the podcast, you guys own, what was it? Scott glasses, but okay, now I at least own my clothing. I don't own the alcohol, but let's talk. So it's just like there's a whole different game and like backside to it of how like bigger companies can they can literally finesse people out of their trademarks with the resources they have. If you don't really educate yourself on like all these processes and this legal verbiage or whatever you want to call it.
Right.